Okay, so Luka is out for game one against the Jazz, and there's a decent chance he could be out for game two as well. Who knows after that? I'm going to talk about this for a bit, and then I want to bounce around to the other round one series I haven't been able to get to yet. So, of course, now you look at Jalen Brunson and Spencer Dinwiddie. Those two are going to be the main ball handlers without Luka, and I'm trying to think what the lineup is. Is it Brunson, Dinwiddie, Finney Smith, Powell, sometimes Kleba, and then Reggie Bullock is the last guy, and then we'll see if there's still the minutes where Dallas goes with no center, because of course they've done that a bit since they did the Porzingis trade. How does Dallas have a chance without Luka? Well, number one is the defense. I mean, they've been a very good defensive team, and I think it's got to be there first. And the thing with the Jazz, of course, is that if you are not high up on screens, Mitchell, Conley, Clarkson, they're going to take that pull up pretty much every time. I think Dallas's natural thing is to be in a drop, but they've also switched with Kleba some, and we'll see. I think the best thing Dallas does defensively is when they bring a help guy from the corner, and then they'll have a wing guy close out to the corner shooter, and then the guy who brought the initial help then closes out to the wing. They're kind of on a string defensively with their closeouts a lot of the time. But the Jazz have a lot of shooting. They space the floor out well, and we'll see if Dallas wants to play that game defensively. If they want to get more switchy, then it's more of a conversation of, well, did they use that as an invitation to go at, let's say, Jalen Brunson, as well as will Gobert get the ball if he's got his defender sealed off, and also if he does get it, will he convert enough of those? I'm going to guess that Finney Smith is the primary defender on Donovan Mitchell. But yeah, if Dallas's defense can be there, and if they can hold Gobert on the offensive glass as well, then that could give them opportunities to run, and I think without Luka, they're going to have to run. They're programmed to play slow, but that's because of Luka and because he can pick you apart in the half court, but the half court offense is going to be tougher, so getting a few extra transition baskets a game, that'll be huge for them. Besides that, I think off-ball stuff, especially for Jalen Brunson, would be huge. Not that Dinwiddie can't get a down screen and then get the ball and, see what he can create from there. Those two are probably going to have to make some pull-up jumpers over Gobert. But also, can they space Gobert out? I mean, if you put Kleba at center with Reggie Bullock and Finney Smith, Brunson and Dinwiddie, that's about the closest you're going to get to a five-out offense here while still not losing like some size with Kleba there. Dwight Powell's still going to play, of course. And then we'll just see between the Jazz defenders being good enough, and if they get beat, Gobert slides over, dude open in the corner, where's the closeout coming from? If they want to get real wild and go with no big guy, then I guess it would be Josh Green. I suppose it's also possible that Davis Bertans could get some opportunities here. I mean, he is shooting 48% from three in his last whatever games. The Jazz would definitely target him, though. For the Jazz's sake, you have to win every game that Luka does not play. It is a massive disappointment if they do not go up 2-0 if Luka misses the first two games. Now I can move on to the Warriors and the Nuggets. So Steph is probable for game one, so that's hype. And of course, if Steph, Clay, and Draymond are as close to healthy as possible, they could win the whole thing. So obviously, you would have to favor them against Denver. How far can Jokic push this series? Well, Draymond didn't play in any of the regular season games. Take that for what you will. Their game plan in the last game these teams face each other in was pretty much to defend Jokic in single coverage in the post. If they brought help, it was really late when he had a couple of feet in the paint already. I guess it comes down to just how scared are you of Monte Morris, Will Barton, Aaron Gordon, Jeff Green, JaMychal Green, possibly Bones Highland playing minutes like that in this series. When I say scared of those guys, I mean mainly from three, or if they're attacking a closeout. When they're cutting to the rim, of course you're going to have to worry about them because anybody could make an open dunk off of a Jokic pass. Jokic attempted 8 threes in the last game they played, and I think a lot of that was because whenever he set a screen for somebody, or not whenever, but a decent amount of the time, they dropped, and then they just kind of dared him to take a three, with the hope of Kevon Looney getting a decent closeout and all that, but maybe that's the idea. Maybe it's, we don't want you to get a mismatch on a switch, so we're just going to hope that you miss a couple extra jump shots. We will see how much center Draymond plays versus Jokic, and that's a really interesting thing. Draymond guarding Jokic in the post, can he just stay sturdy? He's obviously got the height disadvantage, but that's never been much of a problem for Draymond, assuming that he can just hold his spot really well in the post. But also you've got Jokic guarding Draymond at center, and if they want to run that Steph-Draymond pick and roll, which is a go-to when he's at the 5, of course Jokic is going to have to hedge on Steph, and Jokic is pretty solid at hedging. They play him outside the paint a lot defensively. Not all the time. Sometimes it's a drop. But there's also the chance that they don't want Jokic guarding Draymond when Draymond is at the 5, and you'd probably put him on like Wiggins, and then you'd have Aaron Gordon defending the Steph-Draymond two-man game. But then do the Warriors involve Wiggins in more action to try to go at Jokic with a more spaced-out floor? So we'll see there. We'll also see if Aaron Gordon is mainly guarding Draymond, which allows him to affect more of those handoff actions that Draymond will run with Jordan Poole and Clay and Steph. Or will he be guarding the wing and be used as more of a help guy, mainly around the basket? I guess between him, Jeff Green, and JaMychal Green, you're hoping that there's enough size to where it's not just Steph and Clay and Jordan Poole being able to pick apart the Monte Morrises of the world and all that. Do I trust Denver to be able to guard all of the screens that the Warriors are going to set off the ball? No, to be honest. Whether they're fighting around those screens or they're switching them just so there's not as much rotation, I feel like between either getting open off of those screens or then being able to go at a specific matchup, the Warriors are never going to have that tough of a time finding a go-to thing on offense. Whether that is Clay getting Monte Morris in the post, or it's Steph just having to go one-on-one against Will Barton because maybe the Nuggets did a decent job on the initial thing. Very rarely am I looking at the potential things on defense and I'm going, yeah, Denver feels good there. So I think the Warriors will win, but I also think Jokic could drag the series out longer than some people might think it'll go. Let's get through a few more of these. The Bucks and the Bulls. Hey, listen, Bulls fans, them's the breaks sometimes, man. In a different timeline where Lonzo and Caruso were healthy all season, or if Lonzo was at least healthy right now, and they had that super ball pressure defense on top of DeRozan and Levine doing their thing, maybe you would have had like an outside shot, but it's just not going to happen. There's been a bit of upset talk around Grizzlies Wolves. We'll see how aggressive the defense is around screens on Ja Morant, because of course the Wolves have gone from a super aggressive defense to a little safer one as the year's gone on, and they've bounced back and forth since. Do I trust Towns to deal with Ja Morant on the screens? I mean, I think Ja will get the better of him, whether it be a floater, whether it be Towns hedging and then Ja just kind of snaking his way through there. Of course, if Patrick Beverley makes Ja's day as difficult as possible around those screens, then that will help the Wolves. I wonder if the Wolves will ever try to super trap Ja on those screens and dare Steven Adams or Jaren Jackson to make a play in the middle of the floor. The one thing with the aggressive defense, though, is that it was a big reason why the Wolves had a tough time with defensive rebounding, and the Grizzlies are the best offensive rebounding team in the league, so they can't use up all their resources trying to slow down Ja at the three-point line, because then it's going to be Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams, Dylan Brooks, Zaire Williams, all these guys just killing them on the glass. There's some questions with, is it Steven Adams guarding Towns and Jaren Jackson on Vanderbilt, or do you want to flip that? Is it going to be more Jaren Jackson at center? I'm sure the Grizzlies will try to have Vanderbilt's guy be a help dude, and then we'll see if the Wolves can take advantage of that with him getting some easier looks around the rim or him also going for the offensive rebounds. I'm also wondering how aggressively will Dylan Brooks and Desmond Bane be allowed to play. I assume Edwards and D'Lo, those will be the main guys they're on. As far as who's guarding who, I don't really know off the top of my head right now. Speaking of Edwards, I feel like there could be games in this series where he goes 1 for 9 from 3 and another game where he goes 7 for 9 because, of course, the dude loves his contested threes. We'll see if the Wolves can also isolate Ja Morant a little bit more, whether that is going at him with Edwards or D'Lo or perhaps putting him in as many screens as possible, trying to force him to get switched onto Towns. That could lead to a double team immediately from the Grizzlies. We'd have to see how they'd react. Also, with what I just said about Edwards, I could say about Dylan Brooks as well. We'll see if the Wolves choose to go under screens, especially if he's getting handoffs from Steven Adams, because the Grizzlies have done that a bit this year. Adams has had his best passing season. I think the Grizzlies are going to win, mainly off of the physical defense, the offensive rebounding, and I just don't love the Wolves' chances of slowing down Ja Morant. Whether it is a trapping defense, a hedging one, dropping one. But I think the Wolves could definitely push this to a Game 5, possibly a Game 6. I do understand some of the upset talk that has come from this series. And all that's left is the 1-8 matchups, and I think the 1 seeds, the Heat and the Suns, will win regardless of who they're facing. So there you go.